awesome. Hey, you. I've been wanting to speak to you. Okay, so this is how I happened across you, like your story. So I was just scrolling through TikTok, right?
Okay.
And on April 7th, I don't know if you posted those videos because of the I don't want to say anniversary, but the day of memorial. Okay, so that's why you posted those videos? Okay.
Yes, I posted
but
it.
I went on your page on that day, and then I realized after the fact, after I booked you for the show, that that's the day that you guys, like, what's it called? What, a Memorial Day or Remembrance Day?
It's a remembrance, so it's 100 days. Yeah, it's 100 days of the genocide happened in 100 days from April 7th
also,
to July 4th.
Actually happened on April
so
7th. So it's just interesting that it's so interesting. I'm just saying from just a spiritual standpoint, on April 7th, I come across your page, and that's the day it happened. And that's the day I was like, I'm impacted. I'm like, I need to have this story told on my platform. So it's amazing it happened on that day. You know, I could have seen your TikTok, and I mean, your following is quite modest, so I don't know how it came on my page, but I saw it, right? So I was like, on that day, the day it happened, I am actually contacting you to tell your story. I just think the series of events for us to get to this point is just amazing in itself. So I'm excited. I don't know if you ever watch a Table Talk, but Table Talk is pretty much you telling your story from your perspective. We do believe that telling a story from your perspective, there's a lot of healing, there's a lot of reflection of who God is and how great He is in our own personal lives, and tell our testimony is what we're called to do. So this is your platform to speak from your perspective. We're going to go from cradle to where you are now, you know, and this short amount, I mean, it's a short amount of time. I know you have a lot. It's probably can be weeks and weeks of stories, but we're going to try to get the highlights and try, you know, go through your story. So saying all of that, Aline, where are you from?
Yes. So my name is Aline Mutoni. So I know that my last name is hard to pronounce, but it means beloved. So I'm originally from Rwanda. It's a country in East Africa, and I was born in 1988, October 20th, 1988, and my country, if anyone watching doesn't know anything about my country, we are a very small country. I think it's like maybe the size, I don't even think we're the size of Texas, maybe the size of Texas plus a little bit of land. It's a very, very, very small country. We have two main tribes, but three tribes, the Hutus, the majorities, the Tutsis, and the Twa. The Twa is like the tribe that many people don't even know that they exist, but they are there. And so we had a genocide. We had a genocide we had actually two genocides, one in 1959 and one in 1990. Yes.
You weren't even alive.
I was not
and before
alive.
we get into that, I want to get into your personal journey. Like, what was the situation in where you came into the world? Were both your parents together? How did they meet? Okay.
Yes. So like I said, my country had two main tribes, Hutus and the Tutsis. And in our country, we take the tribes of our father. So my dad was Tutsi, and my mother was Hutu because her father was Hutu. And at the time, it was very, I won't say very hard, but it was hard to have these tribes together, because there was, during the first genocide in 1959, there was the Hutus 10 Commandments. You know how we have in Christianity, we have the 10 Commandments? So they had a 10 commandments to actually force people not to marry the Tutsi tribe and everything like that. But my parents, my dad was a medical doctor, so he met my mom in college. My mom was studying agronomy, and then my dad was finishing his medical studies, and they met and they fell in love. And it was
So
love.
in 1959, they had a decree where Hutus need to marry Hutus and Tutsis need to be kind of married Tutsis. And
yes, it was an ideology. So the ideology got it nine. So we had the independence because we were colonized, and then we had the independence in 1962. But the ideology of the genocide happened in 1959, and actually went through until I think 1963, 1964. And during that time, there is one person who actually wrote down the Ten Commandments, and so yeah. That was an ideology to build and make them understand that the Tutsi tribe were not supposed to be the normal people. We were supposed to be killed. So during the first genocide in 1999, they only killed the males, men. They didn't kill them because they just didn't want procreation. They just didn't want the Tutsi procreate. But in 1994. We're like, you know what, we want to kill everybody. Let's just exterminate everyone. So, like I said, my dad was Tutsi and my mom was Hutu.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack here, right? So in 1959, there was the first genocide that happened, and they attacked the males of the Tutsi tribe. And do you know how many people were impacted by that? Was it like hundreds of thousands? Or?
It was not really like they were burning houses, small villages. So the media were not really talking about it. So it wasn't like talked about. But it was go through the history. When you read histories about my country, you will see, but there's not really a palpable number because some people were burned, some people were killed,
and some people flee.
It's like the genocide of yes. Actually, family on my father's side, my grandfather on my father's side, his siblings actually flew. They went into exile in 1959 and ran away from Rwanda because of the killings. So that was the first genocide.
So so just to unpack this real quick. So in the 1959, they had a first genocide, and they killed off the males, right? And some people left the country, some people were killed, some people were murdered. And so your parents met in an environment in probably the 90s or 80s where this...
They met in 1986.
Yeah, okay. So they met in an environment where there was a kind of civil unrest, but in a sense where the Hutus were the dominant tribe, and they kind of projected their dominance through politics. They projected the dominance in societal structure. So your dad was like this, was part of a tribe that was the, what's called, like not the primary tribe, right?
It was the
minority tribe.
So it was, you had the Hutus that were the majority, and then
now that we got the context of how your parents got together, what's your earliest memories of your parents? Like, what were the earliest memories of your journey?
Yes, so now my parents, like I said, I was born in October 1988, and November 1989, my mother was murdered. She was killed in 1999. So I was 13 months when she was killed in a car crash. So she was killed. She requested a leave. She was going to was going to a city. We were living in the second city of the country. We were living in a city called Butare. It's the second city of the country. So she was going to the capital city, and she was asking, because she was not driving at the time, so she requested a lift from a priest who happened to be a Tutsi journalist that the political party, the Hutu party, that wanted to kill him. So they actually ambushed the car and killed the priest, my mom, and 3 other people. So my mom was killed in a car crash because she was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So I lost my mother at 13 months.
Okay, so your mom was going with a priest that was a Tutsi, right? And she's Hutu, right? And
Yes.
that Tutsi priest was being targeted, you know? And your mom, oh wow.
Yes, but the Hutu party, the extremists just wanted to kill him. Yes, so they ambushed him, and my mom happened to be in the car, so she was killed.
So you were you don't remember that at all because you were 13 months old. No, of course.
I was 13 months. I don't have any recollection of my mother. I have pictures of her, but I don't have like memories of like what like I don't. I do have very vivid memories of my dad, but not.
So what's the earliest? So your dad,
my mom,
took on this situation. Were you the only child that was being raised, or was it?
Well, so because she died when I was 13 months, they didn't have any other child. They got married, and then she was killed a year later. So I didn't have any other siblings. So my dad put on and decided to raise me by himself. And now in 1994, the genocide started.
Before we get there, so do you have any vivid memories of your dad as he was raising you before the genocide? All right, so can you describe those memories and like the journey a little bit?
Well, yes, my dad was he was singing in the choir. So he used to sing to me at night. He used to tell me stories. He taught me how to ride a bike. He will make these silly stories, and I remember him just making me laugh. Like I remember his laughter, the way he would just like make me laugh and tell me stories. And our home was always like we always had people in the house, and like I would say I was spoiled, but I never felt the void of a mother because I was surrounded with love. That just my dad was my hero. So I always looked up to him. I was always in his
very loving presence with your dad. It sounded like he was very comedic. He was very fatherly. Like very fatherly, very silly.
Yes. Yeah. Very committed, very committed. Like I don't even have any memories of him like mad at me or no. All the great memories that I have was just like singing to me and just like holding me in his arms. I have a picture that I always have with me wherever I go, like with me, like in his in his arms, like him lifting me up and smiling, and that's the picture that I always have.
Do you have a specific song that you remember him singing? Or no?
Well, it's in my mother tongue, but it's like. Very.
So you had pretty fond memories of your dad. All right. So so now you're 5 years old, right? Do you remember anything about the day when? Do you remember anything about the civil unrest that was happening? And did your dad indicate anything to you, like something?
Now, I want to actually share that part of my story. My father was the chairman of the political party that was in opposition of the government, the Hutu government. So he was in politics. My dad was he was in politics. He was the chairman of the political party in Butare. So he was in politics. However, my dad never told me I was Tutsi. My dad never ever told me. I have no memory of my dad telling me, you are a Tutsi girl. He never instilled any ideology of me being Tutsi. Never. Like I had never heard the word Tutsi in my heart. The first time I knew I was different, I was called a cockroach. But I didn't know that I was Tutsi. So for me, that's what I want to highlight. Like whenever I think of my dad, and anyone who knew my dad would say this, that he was a man who always believed he had Hutu friends, he had Tutsi friends. He never divided, and he was not somebody who was looking at the tribe, but he was not tribalistic. He was somebody who
so
loved
your dad
everybody.
so just slow. I want to capture all this. Your story is pretty incredible, so I want to make sure we capture the essence of it all as we travel through this journey together. So your dad was a diplomat, right? And he lived in an environment where he did not really talk about, I mean, in the modern day, if we translate it, talk about race. He was Tutsi, but he never really talked about being Tutsi with you. Maybe in politics he knew he was, but he had everyone of every group in his political orbit, right? So saying that, so when this happened, you must have been at a place where there must have been tremendous confusion, right? So did anything lead up to that point of it happening? Did you hear rumbles, or did you hear your dad saying, hey, it's very dangerous outside? Did you have any indication, or it just happened one day? And when that day happened, can you kind of describe it from that point?
Yes. So, what I remember that day vividly, and before I talk about it, I want to apologize because I might cry because something that is about that day. It's a very vivid, because I remember everything. Like I remember everything. I had to go through therapy. I went to 15 therapists to be able to heal. I had PTSD. I couldn't sleep because of the things and I got to. So the genocide started on April 7, but the city where I was, the genocide did not start on that day. Because the people, like I said, my dad was the chairman of the Tutsi party, the political party. So in the list of the people that needed to be killed and executed, my dad apparently was the second on the list to be executed. So the genocide there in that city did not happen immediately. It took time. So it said that my dad was killed on April 30th. Now, that day on April 30th, I remember that day vividly because I was with my dad and we were playing. He was just holding me. He was holding me tight. And like I said, all the memories of my dad, I never saw him angry. I never saw him concerned. I've never saw him with a straight face. But that day was different. So we were talking and I was asking him questions, and all of a sudden there was a knock at the door where we were. And as soon as he heard the knock, his face turned to a straight face, and he took me and he me and he said we went to the room, to the bedroom, and he put me under the bed and he looked at me with a straight face and he said, "Do not move until I come and get you." And for the first time in my life, my dad tells me, "Do not move." And I'm not used of my dad having a straight face. I'm not used of my dad being that straight face and so serious. But because I'm an obedient child, I just was like, I obeyed. And I like I said, my dad was my hero. So I knew he would come and get me. But as a little girl, I was curious. Like, I just was like, what is happening? Why am I here? So I was under the bed, and the door, he ran to open the door, and the room was set in such a way that it wasn't a big house. So the room was set in such a way that it was facing the entrance of the house, the door. So when he left, all I could see his legs going towards the door, and I couldn't see what was happening, but I could see the legs. So when he opened the door, there were 3 men. Now, I didn't know at this time that there were 3 men at the door, but I found out after the genocide ended, they arrested the 3 men that killed my dad, and they shared the story in court. We had a court called the Gachacha Court, and they shared the story of what they did to my dad. And that's when they shared that the 3 of them came, and they knock at the door and they say, "Hey, we came to kill you." And my dad, because my dad was very confident, he said, "Who sent you?" and they said, "This person sent us." And my dad was like, "Oh, he's my friend," because that man was a family relative, an extended family relative on my mother's side of the family. So, and get this, the place where we were hiding, because I didn't even know we were hiding, but I found out that my dad had run to that house to hide me and him when he found out that they were looking for him to kill him. He went to the Tutsi family, to the Hutu family, extended side of the family on my mother's side, to hide, because he was convinced that if he's with me, he's safe, because it's my, like, he married there. So when he heard that that man was the one who sent to kill him, he said, "Wait a minute, let me just write him a letter. Let me just write him a letter and take that letter to him. If he sends you back to kill me, then come back and kill me." So he wrote a letter, which that letter is still here. He's still, that man still has the letter. I went to see him in prison. I went to see that man in prison. He still has the letter. So, so he writes the letter. They take the letter to the man, and the man is like, "Go back and kill him."
Wow.
So they come back, and now
Wait.
my dad put me under the bed. He never came back to take me.
Okay, wait. Let's slow down. I want to capture all of this. This is incredible. Okay, this is a lot, right? So your dad, as a diplomat, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Your dad, as a diplomat, believed that his side of the family would be so rational and logical. Say, I'm family. Of course he wouldn't kill me. Of course, this must be a misunderstanding. He went to the Hutu side, Hutu side of the family because he believed like he was more in a safe environment and logical heads would prevail, right? So he said, "I'm going to write a letter, and if he and I'm going to send it out to him, and if he wants you to kill me, come back and kill me." And believing that that's not even the case, because he knew the guy personally, right? And now,
yeah, it was We were
Very
very
close
close
friend.
friends.
Jesus, Jesus. So in his mind, he would never fathom that this man would be harboring hate in his heart to kill him. Jesus. Okay, so now they came back. So can you describe the moment when they came back? Do you remember that moment?
Well, yes, I remember that. So when they came back, they knocked again at the door. My dad went and opened, and they said, "Yeah, he sent us to kill you." And as they described, my dad he had glasses, so he took out his glasses. He took off his watches, and they started cutting him.
And you're
with my
under the bed?
Yes. And I heard my dad scream. I heard my dad scream. I heard my dad scream. To this, I can hear those screams. And they pull his body out of the house, and they took him, and they finished him, like they said, after they cut him to pieces, and they threw his body somewhere. To this day, it's been 29 years. I don't know where my dad is. I have no idea where my dad is. They refuse to tell me where my dad is.
And you're under the bed. Are you crying? Are you trying to stay quiet?
No. I was petrified. I didn't know what to. I didn't even know how to breathe. Like I was shocked. I was horrified because I didn't understand what was happening. I could see blood on the floor, and I just couldn't understand what was happening. And my life was...
Yeah. As a 5-year-old, you couldn't fathom that your father was dying. You heard him screaming. But it couldn't.
I still believe my dad will come and get me. So I still believed it. And I stayed there, and they did what they did, and then they went back to report to that man that they killed, they finished the work. And the man was like, "Oh, what about the little girl?" And they said, "Little girl." And they're like, "The little girl, like his daughter, what about her?" They're like, "There was no girl who wasn't known." They go back and find her and kill her. They came back.
Were you there?
They came back into the house, and they started looking. And one of them came towards the room, and before he could get where he was, one of them who was outside was like, "Leave this cockroach. Leave this little cockroach. If she's not dead, she would die. We have more cockroaches to kill." This was the first time I heard somebody call me a cockroach.
Jesus.
I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know. Like, I knew what a cockroach meant, but I was like, "Why am I a cockroach?"
Jesus.
And they left, and I stayed under the bed. I don't know how many hours. All I know was it was a long time, because I was hungry, I was thirsty. I just was petrified.
Jesus. All right. So how did you come out of that situation? Did somebody come by?
Yes. So now, this is the sad part of the story. because you can have that's why they say you can have a tree that has good apples and bad apples. So the sister of the man who ordered my father to be killed came to the house, and she was looking to see if we survived. But when she entered, she saw the blood, so she was like, yeah, it's over. But she said, because I went to see her and thank her, she said something told her, get in, just get inside and look. And when she got inside, the first thing she did was to look under the bed, and she found me under the bed. So she pulled me out of the bed, and I knew her because she was my aunt. She was a familiar face. So she looked at me, hugged me, and I just was hungry. I was thirsty. So
And that's something was God. Something
yes,
told her to get in that house and look under the bed to retrieve you.
yes.
Yeah. And so, okay, so she was the sister of the man that killed your father, and
Yes.
they're all family.
Yes.
To be honest, your father knew the men too, probably as family too.
Yes.
You know,
I said, he married him. It's the extended family on my mother's side. So it's like his in-law.
All right. So she retrieved you. You were hungry, and what from there? What happened?
She gave me water. She fed me a little bit, and she took me. It was night. Now it had become night. Then we ran and we went to a house. When we got to that house, the house was very dark. It looked like there was nobody in the house. And we went behind the main entrance of the house, and somebody opened for us, and she entered. We entered together, and she pulled aside a man, and she was talking to that man and all of that. And a few minutes after, she comes to me and she looks at me and she said, this man is now your father, this woman is now your mother, and I have to leave you. And I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, and it's another second abandonment. My dad was like, stay here, I'll come and get you. Didn't get to come because he was killed. Now this aunt that I know, this figure, this face that I know, she's abandoning me. She's like, I can't take you. If you stay with me, they will kill me and they will kill you. So I have to, I'm giving you to this. These are now your parents. This is now your mother and your father. And
do you look back now and see kind of the purpose of that? Because if she did take you, they would probably known that you was Tutsi, and you were like, was she trying to fool everyone to act like you was part of that other family, or?
No, the family she gave me were Tutsis.
Oh, the family she gave you was Tutsi. Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, wow. Okay.
Yeah, couldn't keep
So
me because they would have killed her and killed, because in the genocide, the Hutus who were not killing people were killed.
Oh wow! So the Hutus who were moderates, or who were kind of had compassion or sympathized with the Tutsis, were killed also.
Yes.
So it was like, if you're not with us, you're against us.
Yes.
And the way they dehumanize you guys, which happens in every genocide, they call you roaches or something that's loathed, or rats or something like that. That needs to be. Yes, in order for them to rationalize the killing and to take away humanity, to take away their humanity.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're with this family, and how is it?
So now, again, my curious self decides to go towards the window of the house. So now the house where she left me was full of people, like full of Tutsi people that came to hide. So we were packed, like everybody was like hiding, and it was dark. So I decided to go to the window and look at her leave, and I was crying because then I just lost my dad, and now the only face that I know is also leaving, and now I'm given to these people that this family, it was a family, it was a couple, the wife was pregnant, and they had 4 children, so I became the 5th child. So I don't know them, never met them, and now they are my family. So I ran and I went, and the mistake again that I made was to look in the window. And now what I saw was another traumatic thing, because the house next to the house where we were was burned down, and they pulled out one of the women from the house, and they raped her consecutively. Many men were raping her in front of my eyes, and after that they cut her to pieces.
Jesus. Okay. So you witnessed that, and they're in their house that's adjacent to the other house.
Literally,
wasn't it?
House.
So weren't they scared or afraid? Did anybody think that they're about to come to this house? I mean, I know you guys were hiding, but why? Go ahead.
What they did, we were just waiting. We were waiting to be next. So after they did it, they were so tired. After they killed the lady and the people in the house, they were chanting and they were dancing. They decided to leave, and they were planning to come back for the second day to just terminate and attack the house where we were. So now the father, the man who had become my father, he said when they left, he said, "I can't stay because tomorrow we are next." That like they're coming here. So as soon as they left, a few moments later, late at night, it was very dark. It was very dark at night. We decided to leave the house and started walking. And at that time, there were bodies on the
Jesus.
bodies on the street, and we were just running. Remember, I was wearing a white dress that became black, and I fell down on the dead body.
Jesus.
And I just...
Yes. All right, so as you're traveling through to the next place, because you're trying to leave.
My country is full of forests. So
yeah.
we enter a forest. And what we used to do, we would run at night. And in the morning, we will find dead bodies, and we will hide under the dead bodies and act as dead. Because during the morning, those killers would just try to find anybody who's alive.
Oh, wow. And okay, so the strategy at that time when you left the house, if during the day you would hide under dead bodies.
Yes.
And then at night you'll run.
Yes.
Do you remember how long you did that?
I don't know how long. I just know it was long enough. It was.
Yeah.
It was very long. Now.
I know you probably experienced a lot of like.
So I wrote a book.
Yeah. I
don't want to go more because I don't want to be. Then I would be too traumatized to share the full story of my life.
No. You probably experienced a lot of trauma and brutality.
And I
So
wrote
I
a
and I can imagine, and I know they're going to go in detail in your book about the brutality and trauma that you
yeah,
experience. Without going into too much detail in this next chapter because it's a lot. It's your
too
story is
traumatic.
very tremendous. No, no, no. I
Yeah,
will need you to tell your story. I need to tell your story because it's a powerful story. I can imagine being 5 years old and being under the bed and witnessing what you witnessed and not comprehending your dad not going to come back to get you. And then you see your aunt that you know, a familiar face, you give her a big hug and you want to tell her everything that you know, but she already knows. She already knows what's going on. And from an adult standpoint, she dropped you off to other two to say, you got to be here because they're going to come. And now you're with this new family and you're on a new journey of like, I can imagine what you're going through mentally as a child. It's trauma upon trauma upon trauma. So now you're hiding under dead bodies during the day and running at night. There had to be a point where either you and that family left Rwanda or
killed in front of me. They
oh,
were killed in front of me.
their lives were taken.
Yes.
In front, did they know that you were alive, or how did
So
they were killed and you wasn't?
I tell you, and not like that part of the story. So
Yeah,
we like I said, we will run in the forest, but there will be a time we will have to cross in some main road and
yeah,
go into some other place. And that day when we decided to cross, there was a border, a Hutu border. So now, if you had any chance to watch any documentary about the genocide in my country, they had borders. They had the killers would have these borders where they would arrest everyone walking, and they would divide people, say Tutsis here, the Tutsis here. So when we saw that, they saw us and we saw them, so we could not run. So we had to walk towards them. There was no other thing. So we were literally walking towards them. Nobody was talking. We knew we were walking towards them. So the man who had become my dad asked me to hold the hand of my brother, the one who had one of the 4 kids, and said that he was like that they were my family. That he told me, he looked at me and said, if they ask, you are my daughter. And I said, okay. I didn't say okay. I like, at that point I was too traumatized to even think. So I was holding him and we were walking. He was a little bit older than me. And as we were lining up, of course, so the Tutsi line was bigger than the Hutu. Like I said, there were some Hutu people that did not want to kill. And if you don't want to kill, you have to run. So some of those people were also running with the Tutsis because they didn't want to kill. And when we get to those borders, they will be on the side. They will be separated from the Tutsis. And they were checking everybody had an ID. Adult. I didn't have an. I was young to have an ID. So the adult had the ID. So you show your ID. So if your ID says you're Tutsi, you here. If your ID says you're Hutu, you are there. So we were on the line, and one of the soldiers or the killers, we call them in Nerahamwe, one of the killers recognized me and said, hey, this is Kurawije. My dad's name was Kurawije. This is Kurawije's daughter. He picked me from the crowd. This is a killer. He picks me from the crowd and he takes me to they had these semi-truck, and he puts me inside the truck and he says, stay there and wait. And again, I'm curious. So I decide to look at what is happening on the line, and what happened to the people on the line. So now, that was another traumatic thing that it took me years to heal from, because what they did to that family, it's it's an image that it's hard for
Okay,
me to take out of it.
so the people
So
you've been traveling with and running with and fleeing with,
as my
with your
family,
own, as your family, and that's been kind of protecting you and
yes,
strategizing and showing you, as you know, you're looking through a crack, or you're looking through us. You see them, and you see what the Hutus are doing to them, even the kids.
yes,
Oh
especially the kids.
Jesus!
So this
Oh
woman,
Jesus!
one who
Don't go into
had become
detail. It's a lot. Yeah.
the one who
It's
had become my mother was expecting. She was expecting to
Jesus.
say to her, if she wants to save her family, she will have to eat her unborn child. So they open her stomach, and I watched all of those things. Like I said,
The level of evil. I watched the movie Hotel Rwanda, right? And I saw the level. I know.
Hotel Rwanda to me is not really depicting.
I know you can't. I know from your standpoint where you saw the actual, where it's more. But I'm talking about from a standpoint of understanding the amount of evil that can be. You've seen it firsthand. You've seen the craziness. And if I'm saying I'm watching that movie and it was like very crazy and vile, you've seen it firsthand. So the level of trauma that you've experienced and the level of your journey, that it's the intensity of your journey, it's beyond what anyone would experience. The typical person would never experience what you've seen in your lifetime, right? But one thing I want to take is, it's interesting. I don't know if you have reflected on this. Even when you was under that bed, even when you was chosen to be taken to that truck, God has always selected you out of these situations and have ushered you somewhere. And even now you're telling your story. I think that's a part of a bigger journey, the death that exists. Yeah, the death that exists today because we have a demonic influence in this world that wants death and destruction. And everything that has happened is because of that influence. The level of disgusting, and that's what the influence wants for everyone. The level of vileness that we encounter, but it hides its face, right? We are in a situation where we live and these influences are around us, and it's subtle and soft right now. But where it wants to go is that level of trauma, that level of torment, that level of hell.
Yeah.
What you experience is hell on earth, And so now you're in back of this truck, or you can see it. And you've seen this family was
killed
taken in front of you. How did you get out of that situation? What?
Well, it's God. So after they killed everybody, the Hutus and the Tutsis, the same man who took me in the truck came, and he said, "I can't keep you here. Run out, go. Because if they found you here, they will kill you." So he opened the truck, and I ran in the forest, and I ran and I found myself with another crowd of Tutsis that were trying to escape and to run for their life. And I just followed the people, and again, hiding in the morning, running at night. Then one day, we are walking, and all of a sudden, we see this Catholic church, and everybody is happy. Everybody is like feeling a sense of relief. Oh my goodness. Finally, we don't have to run anymore. Salvation has come. And as we're walking towards the church, these 3 nuns are standing by the entrance of the church, and they're waiting for us. And we were like a many crowd. And these 3 nuns, they're like, who Hutu's here, Tutsi's here. I'm like, what is happening? Like, why are we separated again? And of course, the Tutsis were the majority. They put us in a room. When I say a room, I can't even explain. It's not. I can't even say it's a 400 square foot. It's less than that. And we were packed. We were packed like packed. And the children were in the middle, and the adults were just no one could sit because there were too many. And this part of the story, I believe now. My faith makes me believe that it's God who intervened for me not to die, because there's no other explanation why I survived. I believe an angel took me out of that room, because there's no way I could have survived. So an angel took me out of that room and put me in the bathroom. Now, when I say bathroom, it's not the American bathroom. It's the African type, where it's just a hole, and you can see.
Okay. So what happened? Did everyone in that room? Were their lives taken? Everyone in that room?
Every single one of them. The babies, the children, every single one of them.
And you can't remember or recall how you got out of that room?
I don't. I know somebody picked me, but I don't know if it's a human being. I don't know if it's an angel. I don't know the face. I remember, because I do have a photographic memory, I remember the face of the killer who saved my life and put me in the trap. I remember his face very well. But I do not have a memory of the person who took me from that room to the bathroom. No.
Wow. So you went to this Catholic church, right? And there's 3 nuns that came out. Just to recap. And they do the same thing, split the Hutu and Tutsi. Mm-hmm. And they put the Tutsis in one room, and it's like the Jews. They just exterminated the Tutsi in that room. But before they did that, you were somehow relocated to the bathroom or somewhere else where they did not go.
Yeah, I was in the bathroom and I heard these soldiers' boots, the boots of the soldier. The boots. They have a very specific sound. And they came in and they said, "Where are the cockroaches?" And they killed every single one.
Jesus.
People, until there was no sound.
Jesus. But this is the thing about it. The Hutu and Tutsis lived together. A lot of these people knew each other. They worked together. They were friends. And their heart just changed. This is the scary thing about societal, like these things, right? These waves of hate, how hate can just travel and come upon someone's heart, and it's just a way. It's demonic, It just come through because these people went to school together, they ate together, they were friends, and married together, just like your father said.
I know something.
No, just like your father. Go ahead.
Sorry, let me tell you about like a short story of a testimony.
Yeah.
This man, his name is Albert. He was with a family of 10. His dad, his mom, and then his brothers. There were eight boys. His mother, his own mother, the one who pushed to give birth to him, took him and his brothers, the 8 children, to the killers to be killed.
That's
and
horrific.
He's the only one who took it.
So this is the thing about it. Like, it's absolutely horrific, and the trauma that you've experienced, and the journey that you have traveled like I said, not too many people are going to experience what you travel and what you've seen firsthand. I do believe your story needs to be told. I do believe you are here for a reason. I do believe that the purpose that, on April 7th, I saw your story and want to ensure that it's elevated. It makes sense to have a part 2 and maybe a part 3 to this, because we haven't even left you being 5 years old. And there's so much more to be told.
You haven't even scratched
yes.
we haven't even
scratched the surface. So I would say we will have a part 2 to this, because I feel like your story do need to be told. It needs to be out there. It needs to be expressed, because this journey is a powerful journey of humanity. It's a journey that tells the story of how, the world is. How there's demonic influences, and how in your story I can see how God was there in key moments. And I can see Satan clearly doing Satan things.
Yes.
Clearly. I can see the hand of God choosing and allowing things, to be a certain way, and the grace that exists in God. And I can see the utter disgusting vileness and deplorableness of Satan. And I think this is a reflection of the world, is a reflection of principalities that we encounter. And even though it's horrific to hear, some of us do not even want to hear it. We just want to go about our day and want to live in la la land. But this exists. There's been hell on earth. We don't have to wait to go to hell. There's been hell on earth, and you've experienced some of that hell. And that hell that you experience is still nothing. You know how you said, Rwanda Hotel is nothing compared to the hell that you experience? The hell that you experience is nothing compared to the real hell that exists. It's nothing. Yes. So what I'm saying.
So to cut you, I want to talk to anyone listening. The purpose of me sharing my story, of course, none of you I don't even wish to go through anything that I've gone through. But the purpose of me sharing my story is because Satan is predictable. Satan doesn't have a new trick. He's the same vile serpent in Eden. He has no new tricks. So what he did to me, what he did to my country in 1994, what he did to the ideology of the genocide, because for people to cut people to pieces, you have to get to a place where you no longer you do that, because no human in their right mind can do that. So you have to be taken by so much demonic personalities. And if we look at our world today, Satan is to actually try to soften sin and make sin look okay, make sin look palpable. And what we have to learn from I can actually give any little tool is Satan is real, but the power of Jesus Christ of Nazareth is greater. The power of Jesus Christ. I'm not gonna say God, because nowadays God can be anything. Yeah. The power of Christ of Nazareth is bigger. God is able. Jesus is able to break the yoke. He's able. Like I said, I haven't even scratched the surface. And we're gonna scratch the surface. I live for 22 years. I live for 22 years with people that killed. That's another side of my story. Yes. So you have it's only the power of Jesus Christ of Nazareth that we can be made whole, that we can fight, and that we can have the freedom, the true freedom. Yes. Yeah. And with that is a good word. And we're gonna do a part 2, and we'll schedule a part 2, because I think we need to talk about this story and travel through this journey together. Again, I mean, this is not for the faint of ears, but if you listen to this story and you travel with us, I think you're going to get some greatness out of this.
We're gonna go to the meet and greet right now. It's from 8 to 8:30.
Okay.
Join us on Facebook group, Life Coach Eddie. Join the Facebook group. Go to lifecoacheddie.com. Join Facebook group and meet and greet. Right now, you won't be able to join because registration closed at 6 o'clock. But we're gonna talk to whoever registered at that time for this event. Thank you again, Aline. We're gonna schedule a part 2 because we're not finished with this story. All right. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.